Hello and welcome to another episode of Marie's Bundesliga Minutes. Today we are focusing on three teams, and without giving them away, I'd like to start by talking about Julian Nagelsmann's RB Leipzig. Now, RB Leipzig yesterday thrashed SC Freiburg in a very convincing display, and I think we should focus on this game because it highlighted a lot of what makes Leipzig such a powerhouse, such an ascending powerhouse in European football. What we saw on their offense is that the responsibility of creation, of scoring, is spread across many shoulders, and that makes it incredibly hard to defend against this team. Yesterday, Nkunku, the winger who joined Leipzig from Paris Saint-Germain 2 years ago, had a great day, as did Sørloth, the player who we talked about 2 weeks ago, the 25-year-old Norwegian striker who joined Leipzig from Trabzonspor in Turkey and before had a kind of mediocre stint at Crystal Palace. He's finally been coming into his own since the winter break, and he was fantastic again yesterday. Besides that, they have players like Kevin Campbell, Emil Forsberg, Yusuf Poulsen, Danny Olmo, and also behind these attacking players, there are central midfielders like America's Tyler Adams. Then, of course, Marcel Sabitzer, who has a lot of admirers in the Premier League. Arsenal have been interested in him for quite some time, as have Tottenham, because he pretty much single-handedly took Tottenham apart last season in the Champions League. And, of course, on the bench, as we know, is Julian Nagelsmann, who started as an experiment at Hoffenheim. He was promoted from within the club at the age of 28 years old. So when he started coaching, he was younger than some of his players. And now he's been with Leipzig for 2 years. And what a fantastic coach. And he is a coach, not a player, who is best positioned to get the most out of such a talented squad. Of course, it has been Leipzig's philosophy pretty much since their inception to sign young players, preferably 23 or younger. And we've seen that again recently with the signing of Justin Kluivert, who is the Barcelona Kluivert's son. He's a winger from Roma. And from Hwang and Shabaloshai, who both came from RB Salzburg, the sister club. And yeah, Leipzig continues to impress. And yesterday they played in jerseys which I had not noticed hitherto. They played in kind of like navy blue, metallic navy blue jerseys with like orange touches on them. I thought that was very snazzy. And yeah, they had a great day. They're also only 2 points behind Bayern. And with 24 matches played and 10 games remaining, I think you shouldn't count out the title race in the Bundesliga just yet. A few weeks ago, Bayern still had a 9-point lead, and that has shrunk. And as Leipzig has won its past 5 games, and Bayern has only won 3 of its last 5 games. Now that brings me on to Bayern Munich, the second team that we're focusing on today. They had a classic showing in Der Klassiker, the German El Clasico, yesterday against Borussia Dortmund at Allianz Arena. And as always, when these two teams match up at Allianz Arena in Munich, it's a high-scoring match. And I hope you watched it because it was worth it. In the first 10 minutes, Erling Haaland, who is seen by many as the heir apparent to Robert Lewandowski in the long term at Bayern Munich, scored 2 goals, one coming 80 seconds into the game. That was a deflected shot that Manuel Neuer wasn't able to keep from sinking into the bottom corner of the net. He then scored again, and suddenly Dortmund was 2-0 up, and Hansi Flick was shrugging on the sideline like he didn't know what was going on. But as we know from Bayern Munich, as we've seen them under Hansi Flick, never count out Bayern Munich. And so even after 10 minutes, I think all of Germany and everyone else watching this game was thinking, they're still going to turn it around somehow. And of course, that's exactly what they did. It was 2-0 by the 87th minute. And then in the last 3 minutes, Leon Goretzka on a kind of brilliant half volley from just inside the box, and Lewandowski made it 4-2. And that, of course, being a scoreline that in the end sounds more convincing than perhaps how close this game was, but shows that winning mentality that makes Bayern so unique in world football. And although Lewandowski was on paper the match winner in this game with 3 goals, I would like to actually focus on a different player who doesn't get as much recognition as he should, in my opinion, and that's Joshua Kimmich. The 25-year-old German international has been so essential for Bayern Munich. He is one of those young players who came to Bayern pretty much because Bayern likes signing young, talented Germans. But unlike so many others, he made it. So he didn't have a lot of experience. He didn't have that huge standing that you need to join a club like Bayern or Real Madrid or Manchester United to have the respect of the dressing room. He came from second-tier RB Leipzig under Guardiola. I think he joined Bayern in 2014. And he got minutes here and there, more so than many would have expected at the age of 19 and 20 in those first 2 years. There's a famous scene where Guardiola kind of takes him aside after a Champions League game and talks at him like this. And Kimmich is like standing his ground, but is kind of shrinking backwards. And he's just talking. I mean, we've seen Guardiola do this with different players. He's just gesturing and he looks mad, but really that's the highest compliment a guy like Guardiola can pay you, is giving you that attention. And as we all know, Guardiola loves his midfielders. And Kimmich, to his credit, even since he was very young, was very ballsy and always saying, I'm a central midfielder, I'm a central midfielder, I'm a central midfielder. And everyone's like, no, Kimmich, you're like the best right back in the Bundesliga. You're the heir for Philipp Lahm in the German national team and Bayern Munich's team. And it was actually surprisingly Joachim Löw, who despite having problems in the left and right defense in the German national team, where it's perhaps the positions that have the slimmest amount of talent, he still eventually, I think it was in 2019, drew Kimmich away from the right defense into the central midfield. And that is a slot where Germany has so much talent. You know, you've got Gündoğan, Goretzka, Toni Kroos, and you know, there's really no lack of talent in the center of the pitch. And yet he was like, Kimmich is playing there, Kimmich is my man. And it is because Kimmich mixes this intelligence, this, you know, he's very adept at reading 2 or 3 passes ahead at a time, similar to Iniesta or Xavi at Barcelona, mixed with his technique. You know, you can always play the ball to Kimmich, he will not lose it. And he's someone who can, in Germany this is saying, you know, he can dribble past you on a postage stamp. So like a tiny piece of the pitch, Kimmich will be able to get past you and make his man. And then of course his crosses, everyone was worried. I mean, similar to Trent Alexander-Arnold at Liverpool, Kimmich was famous for his crosses and for providing assists as a right back. And everyone was worried that that part of the game would go aloof. But that's how he set up the Champions League winning goal, Kingsley Coman's goal in the Champions League final against PSG. That's how he continues to set up goals for Lewandowski. And he's pretty much made that half, you know, like the, we call it the Halbfeld, kind of like the half field on the right. So in the last third, or just before the last third, he's kind of made that his own. And as he goes forward, he tends to shift that way naturally. And then from there, he crosses it onto the second post for players like Thomas Müller or Robert Lewandowski or Goretzka to head the ball in. And that's worked very well for Bayern Munich all season. Now, the last team that I want to talk about briefly is Schalke 04, FC Schalke, who, after tying with Mainz on Friday night, it was a 0-0 game, have 10 points after 24 matches. And this was the first game for Gramotzis, a 42-year-old promising coach who had hitherto coached in the second Bundesliga. And he signed a contract until 2022, and it's a contract viable for both Bundesliga 1 and Bundesliga 2, with Schalke's expected demotion to the second Bundesliga at the end of this season. Now, I think he's had 2 full days of training with Schalke, so it's hard to expect a lot from him. And his match plan blew up pretty much before the game even started, because Amit Narit, a player that he had highlighted in press conferences, someone who he wants to move back into the center of the field rather than the left flank, because he sees so much in Arid and so much potential to dictate play. Amit Narit was injured as he warmed up, so that was already a big blow. He did give Çalhanoğlu, a young player from the Knappenschmiede, Schalke's academy, his first start. He started in as a fullback, and Çalhanoğlu incidentally is the cousin of Milan's Çalhanoğlu, who had previously played in the Bundesliga at Leverkusen, so interesting family connection there. But overall, what really stuck out in this game against Mainz, another team fighting relegation, is from the 70th minute or so onwards, so many Schalke players literally collapsed on the pitch. You know, you had all these muscle injuries, like players who needed their opponents to help, you know, draw out their legs to flex them back into shape. And that is really, really shocking, because that's something you would expect perhaps in a Champions League semi-final in April, towards the end of the season, against a team like Real Madrid in overtime. You know, maybe in the 115th minute, one player collapses on the field and it's like, oh, I need help, please stretch me out. But in this case, it was against Mainz. And it was at home, and it was with 20 minutes to go, and players were collapsing. That was really concerning, and not a good look for Schalke and their fitness levels. Of course, last week their fitness coach was one of the staff members let go by the club. And I mean, you have to say, this has been the 5th coach in one season at Schalke. They started with David Wagner, then they had Manuel Baum, then Huub Stevens, then Christian Groß, and now Gramotzis. But still, like, these limited fitness levels are not only concerning and cannot only be blamed on the coaching staff and on this club in crisis, but as a professional athlete, you know, it's up to you to stay in shape, to make sure that you eat well, that you practice at home, that you treat your body like a temple. And top teams, this was very evident by the coronavirus break last March and April, when those clubs came back. You know, Goretzka had put on 8 kilos in muscle, and Bayern were flying off the charts. They did not lose a game after the coronavirus break, whereas that's really the beginning of Schalke's troubles, was at that time after that break. And you gotta wonder, attitude-wise, why this club, that team, that squad of players struggled so much more with this than others. Now, that's it from me from today. I hope you enjoyed Marie's Bundesliga Minutes. And if you have any suggestions for what you want me to cover, what you want me to address, any players, any teams, then please reach out to me on Twitter. My handle is @MarieSchubo. That's MarieSchubo. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.